The inequality in Nigeria is huge and should be addressed properly. The growing level of inequality in Nigeria has become a major concern that deserves urgent attention. Many Nigerians believe that governments at all levels should place greater emphasis on improving the welfare of ordinary citizens rather than implementing policies that appear to benefit only a privileged few. Somehow, critics of President Bola Tinubu's administration argue that the government has not done enough to address the economic hardship facing millions of Nigerians. They contend that while many families continue to struggle with rising food prices, inflation, unemployment and insecurity, reports of improved welfare packages and other benefits for certain categories of public officials have raised concerns about the government's priorities. Some Nigerians have also referred to reports that the federal government allocated residential accommodation to some judicial officers. Critics argue that, at a time when many citizens are living in poverty, government spending should be more evenly balanced to ensure that the welfare of the wider population is not overlooked. Others, however, maintain that providing official accommodation and welfare for judicial officers is intended to strengthen the independence and efficiency of the judiciary. Critics further argue that successive governments have contributed to widening inequality, but they believe the situation has become more severe under the current administration. They point to the rising cost of living and persistent insecurity, particularly in parts of northern Nigeria, as issues that continue to affect the daily lives of millions of citizens. Some Nigerians also believe that President Bola Tinubu will seek re-election in 2027 and argue that voters should carefully assess the administration's record before deciding who should lead the country after the next general election. Supporters of the president, however, maintain that ongoing economic reforms require time to produce lasting results and believe the administration remains committed to addressing Nigeria's challenges. As political activities gather momentum ahead of the 2027 elections, many Nigerians continue to call for policies that reduce inequality, improve economic opportunities, strengthen security and ensure that national resources are managed fairly and transparently for the benefit of all citizens. Why would the government of Nigeria allegedly budget over 8 billion naira to build and renovate churches and mosques? Of what benefit is it to the Nigerian economy? Information reaching Viewers Corner News from our correspondent in Abuja indicates that the federal government allegedly made budgetary provisions of over 8 billion naira for the construction and renovation of churches and mosques in different parts of Nigeria. The reports have generated widespread public debate, with many Nigerians expressing differing opinions on the proposed expenditure. Somehow, critics argue that the timing of such a project has raised serious concerns, especially as the country continues to grapple with economic hardship, high unemployment, inflation, insecurity and inadequate infrastructure. They believe that government spending should be directed first towards sectors capable of creating jobs, stimulating economic growth and improving the living conditions of ordinary Nigerians. Many Nigerians acknowledge that there is nothing inherently wrong with the government supporting religious infrastructure in a country where faith plays an important role in national life. However, they argue that such projects should not take precedence over pressing national challenges that require urgent attention. Critics further contend that greater investment in education, electricity, healthcare, agriculture, security and support for small and medium-sized enterprises would deliver more direct economic benefits and improve the quality of life for millions of Nigerians. They believe that strengthening these sectors would help expand the economy, create employment opportunities and reduce poverty. Supporters of the government, however, may argue that budgetary allocations are made to meet a wide range of national priorities and that projects involving religious institutions can also contribute to community development and national cohesion. As Nigerians continue to examine government spending ahead of the 2027 general election, Many are calling for greater transparency in budget implementation and for public resources to be invested in projects that produce measurable economic and social benefits for the country. The alleged fake Director General and Ministry operating from the Federal Secretariat in Abuja raise serious questions that deserve a thorough investigation. The reported discovery of an alleged fake Director General and a ministry allegedly operating from the Federal Secretariat in Abuja has left many Nigerians expressing shock and demanding a comprehensive investigation into the matter. Somehow, many Nigerians believe that the allegations, if proven to be true, would represent one of the most disturbing cases of fraud within the country's public service in recent years. They argue that such a development raises serious concerns about oversight and accountability in government institutions. Critics have questioned how a ministry reportedly described by the federal government as unauthorized could allegedly operate from office space within the Federal Secretariat. They also point to reports alleging that the entity received budgetary allocations and had personnel on its payroll, arguing that these claims, if established, require a full explanation from the relevant authorities. Many Nigerians believe that the circumstances surrounding the alleged operation should be independently investigated to determine how it came into existence, who authorized it, whether public funds were involved and, if any laws were broken, who should be held accountable. Critics further argue that if those responsible are not identified and prosecuted by the current administration, the matter should remain a priority for any future government. They maintain that public confidence in government institutions depends on ensuring that allegations of corruption and abuse of public resources are thoroughly investigated and addressed in accordance with the law. Some Nigerians also believe that Nigeria possesses enormous economic potential but argue that stronger institutions, greater transparency and accountable leadership are essential for the country to fully realize its opportunities.